Right, just a quick review on my Timex Q. I wasn't even going to do this, but I put a couple of photos last night on Instagram, and it seemed to get a lot of likes. So there must be a lot of people out there who like these watches. Like I say, I've got expensive watches, I've got cheap watches, and I'm definitely not a watch snob. And to be honest, this is probably one of my favourites out of my cheaper watches. It's probably one of my favourite watches. So it's a Timex Q. It's a reissue of the 1970s watch. Just bought a little slightly bit more up to date, but it is very, very retro. Okay, it's a quartz watch. I bought it because it looks like a GMT, but it isn't. It's only a three-hander. So it's hours, minutes, seconds. Okay, and then obviously it's got a day and a date function, but that's not today's day or today's date because I just never bothered to set it. Okay, so if you can tell on there, it is a blue dial, but most of the time it does look black. I must admit it looks black all the time, but it is actually a blue dial. It's got the Pepsi bezel, okay, which is obviously blue and red. That spins both ways or rotates both ways, but it isn't a click bezel. It's a friction bezel, so it's quite stiff to spin, but it does stay where you want it. I must admit, you know, it doesn't go loose. But I think if you probably played around with it for a period of time, it could possibly go. It could possibly go quite loose. But this one's tight, and to be honest, I never spin the bezels around anyway. So like I say, it's got, so there's the blue dial, day, date, hours, minutes, seconds, rotating bezel. Okay. It has got luminous hands and luminous markers, but the lume's not very powerful. So if you're planning on using it through the night, you know, it's not the best. But it does loom, but it doesn't seem to stay for an awful long time. So it's all stainless steel. It is very, very retro. It's a 38mm case. I think it feels a little bit bigger than 38mm, but it is definitely 38mm. But I think that the lugs are quite squared off. Okay, so it makes it look a little bit bigger, and it doesn't look too small on your wrist. I've got reasonably big wrists, and it doesn't look overly small. So it's just it's just a nice watch to wear. So it is stainless. It's polished, but to be honest, I haven't scratched it an awful lot, I must admit. The crystal could scratch because it's only it's acrylic. It's an acrylic crystal or a plexi crystal or whatever you call it from wherever you're from. But yeah, it's not a sapphire crystal, so you could very, very easily mark it. Okay. Battery life, I'm not sure of. I've had this one for 3 years, 3 and a bit years, and it's still ticking. So I would say maybe the battery life is probably 3 to 5 years. I really don't know, and I really don't care, to be honest. But I've had it 3 years, it's still going, so it's at least 3 years. Okay. Now, like I say, it is stainless steel, and so is the bracelet. The bracelet's stainless steel. And I remember when these came out, a lot of people reviewed these and said, "Oh, you know, it's uncomfortable. It's pulling the hairs on my wrist, and it's doing this, and it's doing that." But I must admit, it hasn't never done it to me. It's never pulled the hairs on my wrist. But I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but it hasn't happened to me. Now, although it's a stainless steel watch with a stainless steel bracelet, it isn't a deployment buckle. I'll show you how this works in a minute. So that's sort of the length of it. I'll lay it down sort of like that so you can see how it works. You see, okay. Now, what you do, if you're into old watches and stuff like that, you'll understand how this works. So if you look at this end of the bracelet, okay, right, there's part of the clasp. Now, so what happens is this part here, that pops up, and you can slide this bit to wherever you want it to suit the size of your wrist. You can make it smaller or bigger. I'm not going to do that now because I've got it absolutely perfect. I've got it just how I like it. But yeah, this bit pops up, you slide it to where you want it, and it snaps back down. And then the other end obviously wraps around your wrist, and you clip this part. So those two hooks hook on, and that bit snaps. So what I do is I rest it on the bed, rest it on my knee, or rest it on the settee or whatever, and then face down, and then put your wrist onto it and snap it shut. That way it doesn't fiddle, it doesn't like move about, because it can be very fiddly when you put it on. Okay, but it snaps shut nicely, and you know, there's no way of it popping open. It's ever so tight. Now, on the buckle itself, if you can see that, it's got Timex etched into it or engraved into it, and I think that's just a nice just a nice bit of a finishing touch. So yeah, so the clasp stainless steel, bracelet stainless steel, case stainless steel, obviously. Like I said, it is waterproof, but I don't really tend to take it in water, because when I first bought it, I pulled the little plastic thing off the crown. There's a little plastic, when you buy them, there's a little plastic thing on the crown which stops the watch, like hacks it, if you like, and I leave that on so it doesn't go, so the battery doesn't go flat in the box. But as I pulled a bit of plastic off, I couldn't get the crown to snap in properly. It does now, but it didn't then. So to be honest, I'm not overly confident about its waterproofing. So yeah, I wash my hands in it and stuff like that, but as for taking it into water, I wouldn't really bother. Okay, so that's about it really. So that's my really quick look at the Timex Q. So as I'll say, like always, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.